Thank you all for coming to today's Evergreen Admin Working Group. Um, just a reminder that our meetings will be now alternating months. So August is admin, and then we are alternating with the permissions group. So next month will be permissions. Um, so today we had slated to talk about item statistical categories. Um, kind of just how folks are using them, managing them, and any concerns or bugs that you want to raise about them. Now is the time to do so. So I will open the floor to anyone who wishes to ask questions or share how you folks are using them or how your libraries are using them. I will say for Pales, it's kind of everyone has their own. Some are used for tracking acquisitions, some are audience, some are, those seem to be the big ones, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But so I have limited knowledge. Sure, Karen. So for acquisitions, they just track the vendor, um, where they purchased it from. So it's not highly detailed. Um, or if it was a donation or a grant, they use it for a lot for grant things too, or like projects. So if they have specific monies, they track it that way.
Are we talking about patron statistical categories too, or just
Um, we could expand it to
more,
patrons if you wish. That's a
more
whole
like
nother
acquisitions? That's okay
bucket of
though.
worms if you
So
want. We can.
yeah, so we don't use them really for anything. We use them for patron stuff, but that's the only spot we're using them.
Okay, so let's hear share your troubles and we will commiserate.
I don't know that I guess I thought it'd be easier to get the reports from when we do it. We have a statistic for patrons. We're using in the categories for like tracking. We have different types of permission groups, but we didn't want to do, but they have the same permissions. So we didn't want to create more permission groups. So we have these like how they got their library cards sort of. So we call them waiver groups of different things. Um, and then we also use them to track kids' schools, but that's been sort of not very effective because their kids' schools change every year and then we have to update it. And then, so they just sort of sit in there as a school. So, um, oh, and then we use them for newsletters. We have two libraries who use them to for people to opt out of newsletters. So then when they pull the emails, they can not pull the people who have a no for their newsletter. So yeah, but overall it seems like we're sort of it's sort of working and sort of I could probably do more cleanup, but it's hard to clean them up, especially since you can't delete. Um,
Mhm.
you can't, yeah, that's probably the tricky part is deleting the entries, right?
Yeah, you really can't. You have
Yeah.
to like remove it from all of the patrons and then have it done on the back end. I feel like I saw a bug about that getting some action lately.
It this one, and that was my question. Has anybody tested this in, I guess, Maine, because 316 isn't officially out yet with actual data, like more than just Concerto? We have not yet. But it did get committed to 316 beta, editing and deleting StatCats.
That'll be fun. We're
I
only going
think
to 15. So. Oh,
I
sorry,
think you
Kim.
can still do it in Firefox, even without the work that's been done through Launchpad. That was
Oh,
our workaround to go to Firefox.
tell me more. How
Well,
does more?
if I just want to delete a single, so I don't want to delete the entire statistical category. Like, let's say we had teachers and we had all these codes and teachers. I just want to delete a teacher because they're gone. And we couldn't do that if we're in the web client in Chrome, but if we go to Firefox, we can. The option, that old option that we used to see in the Zool client is in Firefox.
And which version of
Of
Evergreen?
Firefox?
Of Evergreen are you on?
Oh, well, right now we're on 3.7, but I think we did this even before 3.7.
And it's not custom
No,
code?
it's just lucky.
And when you say remove, do you just need the entry or do you mean like the from the list entirely? Like the selection or
So
generally
if I
once
had
you're
a
done?
patron statistical category of schools,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and then I had Dawson Elementary and Holden Central and like all the individual schools, we can remove an individual school, the code for that. We can delete it,
It
but
doesn't
still
look
have the whole category.
it doesn't look like that's possible in 314.
Right.
I just tested in Firefox and the actions menu just has no options.
Oh, okay. Well,
So yeah,
we're not going to
I
be able to
think you
do
might
that
be able to do
anymore
it because
then.
you get 3.7, 3.7.
Yeah. We're upgrading in October.
Good luck in advance with your upgrade.
Thank you very
Sure.
much.
It's always I always feel like we all need a little bit of luck with our upgrades.
Yes. Yeah, especially with this, we're doing a really big jump.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like the big issue with statistical categories is the deleting and editing. We in Pales we have quite a few different uses for patrons. We use them for bookmobile stops, municipalities, school districts, um, opt in, opt out of newsletters. We have one library that has different card sign up initiatives. So each year they have a new wave of that. And so they kind of track um, patron engagement in that year's statistical category. It gets a little, I'm going to say, hairy for a while, I think, when you have a lot of them, um, or if you have quite a few. So, and we have individual libraries each have their own, or a system will have their own set. But we just started using statistical categories to at the consortia level where we run our addresses through a mapper and then it spits out the municipality that they live in and the school district according to an API call with state data. And that is set at the Spark level. So now it's kind of a weird conflicting thing where we have state data and then we have local reported municipalities. So like when you're Melissa was talking about reporting, so we have to be like, okay, if you want to run it on staff initiated and staff maintained municipalities, you're going to use this one. And if you're going to use the ones that we do by your address, you're going to use this other set. So it would be nice to get rid of the local ones and just use one set, but we're not there yet. Anyone else have a unique use case?
We use statistical categories. Sorry, I'm trying to start the video, but it's not working. I don't know why. Maybe in a moment. We used statistical categories for
Did she freeze for everyone or just me? Okay, I'll give her a minute just to see. I think we lost her. Hopefully she can sign back on. In the meantime, does anyone else have questions or anything they'd like to share? Ooh, this is a good one.
I think that was one of our libraries, the weeding um, uh, protection. And we just kind of recently plugged it again for libraries who are doing inventory and weeding to be like, make sure, I guess sorry, the presentation I did on it was inventory and weeding. But on the weeding side, we did another plug to be like, if there are items that you aren't going to want to weed for your collection, um, put a stat cat that says, don't weed this. And Karen, are you actually implementing that? Nice.
I'm realizing now that I don't actually know if hand raising is a thing for this. Hi, Diane.
Hi.
Haven't been attending these, but I'm excited to start. I have been using StatCats a little to differentiate materials within like specific shelving locations and collections. We are working on cleaning up the way we assign metadata for our item records. I'm over at Yonkers, and StatCats have been useful for figuring out some information about format on some of our materials in like shelving locations that are otherwise undifferentiated. Uh, just to the level of things like figuring out how much of our summer reading is materials for YA versus materials for Juve when that's not recorded in a coherent, repeatably measurable way anywhere else in the items record. It's a little lossy sometimes, but it's been useful. And I very much like the thought of using StatCats to mark stuff out as not to be weeded for one reason or another. Like, I hadn't been thinking about it with that degree of freedom, but I really appreciate it. Thank you, Karen, for bringing that up. Think I'm going to recommend that to the folks who deal with our weeding, which is mostly just me, but I'll recommend it to the one other person who cares. Oh, that sounded grim. Never mind.
Oh, thank you for joining us.
I will try again. Maybe I will not be disconnected again.
Welcome back.
We use statistical categories for various things. For example, In acquisition, we distinguish how the book was acquired, for example, bought, or it was some gift or things like that. And it helped me when I am checking these statistical categories whether we have right invoices, because sometimes it happens that there is a book which has been bought but I have no price, and then I discover, oh, there's a problem with some invoicing or things like that. So I think it's very useful. And we also need for the legal purposes to distinguish, or statistical purposes for our ministry and government, distinguish between items for the books and other type of items, because we don't count single unbound serial issues. It's not possible to count it as a library item. So when we save information about items, we always add information whether count or do not count to the governmental statistic or not. And we also use statistical categories for patrons. I like what Melissa said, that they used it for information for patrons, because it was the first things which came to my mind, where we need to distinguish between patrons that want to receive emails and do not want it. And for example, we use statistical categories also when so-called GDPR in Europe was implemented, which is privacy data protection, and we needed distinguish between patrons who signed that they agreed by new legislations to give us their data, and we used patron statistical category that you must save, and if you didn't save it, it wasn't possible to save the data. So it was very useful for us, and it helped us very much. So I think it's very good, uh, and there are many things which can be used by statistical categories. But what I find a problem is that it's not possible, or I can't easily combine two statistical categories in one output, which is a big problem for me sometimes.
Yeah, I'm just thinking you'd have to run it on everything, and then that's way too much info. Yeah. Or could you do a list? Like if you're saying I want like this category and this category? No, it only does one. Sorry, thinking out loud.
I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
When you're like building the filters and you're picking which statistical category you want like in your output, are you doing it that way? Like, do you say um I want the acquisitions entries, or do you say I want all the ones that are lease in the in acquisitions category?
I don't think I'm
No.
able to do it.
Okay, forget it. Don't worry.
It's an idea. It's good.
Yeah.
I think relevant to this, when I've built filters that look at stat cats, a number of the stat cats we use share particular strings in their names based on what they're looking at. To get more than one stat cat that shares those characteristics, sometimes I'll go with substrings when I'm filtering to particular stat cats rather than using exact names or pulling from a list.
There are two um, tables for StatCats in reports. So we do have one report where we're showing like values for two different StatCats. I think that might be the limit, and that's just because we can add a field and filter from one table and from the second table. So we can add a filter for both. But I don't know if there's like a better way, or if there's a way to, if you wanted to see like all the StatCats, like a column for each StatCat, if there's a way to do that.
Sorry, I'm taking a few notes. Yeah, reporting is always a little tricky on DACats. I will just say. Always takes me a couple times.
I suspect a session on just reporting with StatCats would fill like a full 60 minutes if
Yeah,
anybody ever wanted to do that in the future. Could be a
it,
conference session.
it
Oh,
could
I'd be
be.
thrilled to go. It's, I mean, I've got my methods, but having some like properly experienced direction on dealing with the edge cases would be lovely.
Okay, let me write that down. Um, we will be meeting at the reports committee next month. Um, oh, I've never used StatCat entry maps.
Yeah, I don't know why there are two um, different tables, but we use for items, we had, some sort like federal grants, and that we needed to track circulations for those items. And there's like, I forget why, there's like two different stat cats. One is what grant it is, and another is like the use of or the type of circulation, I forget. And yeah, the way we got, and this was Tiffany from Pines created that report. She went through each table so we could display the two stat cat values, instead of just one. And I can share, I would probably have to, I don't think the description is handy, but I could get the paths in chat. Just may take me a bit and it'll be very long, but I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, or if you want to email it to, oh, we don't have a list. I can include it in the notes if you'd like.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Um, okay, if you want to email them to me, everything. Oh, thank you,
The
Jen.
doc I just put is the one that came out of the conference of the reports that we have, if it's useful for anybody. Hopefully it's enough information to build the reports.
Thank you. there anything else folks would be interested in?
I have a question around patron stat cats.
Mhm.
Does anybody on purpose use the free text option?
Yes.
Because we've kind of been shutting that down because it just causes problems with reporting to the point where I kind of wonder if it's worth a launchpad bug saying maybe this should be removed.
Oh, we would need it. We have a couple libraries that mail their library cards, so they put the date that the card was mailed in a statistical category.
That's good to know. So that's why I haven't done a bug report because I'm like, I'm sure there's somebody out there probably using it.
Yeah, we could put it somewhere else, probably, but could be a note. But it's just easy because then they don't have to like go to another tab. They could just when they're filling out the registration and mailing it, it's just
I
easier
wonder,
to.
sorry, I was just say I wonder if there's a way to make the free text like, do you really want to turn it on? Are you sure when you're saving the stat cat or something?
Yeah. It would be cool if you could have some defaults, like as a, I don't want to add another library setting, but it would be cool if there was an option to have defaults, like always
That's what I
click
was gonna
like
say.
archive circ with, the statistical category so that when you age circ, it goes with it. That would be helpful.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Or
was gonna say a
always,
library setting to allow it or not.
yeah, always by default, they're always not patron visible unless you really want to do it.
Well, I think there are built-in defaults if you don't choose,
Hmm.
but it's not very visible until you save. Because I
Yeah,
think the radio buttons are just blank. And then if you don't save them, they pick certain
yeah.
things. The other thing that we haven't been able to confirm yet, because we're blocked by a bug where we just can't save patrons at all, in the new Angular circ, the experimental Angular circ. Um, it doesn't look like the free text option shows up at all, but I can't confirm that because I can't save a patron.
Oh, that's a
It
bummer.
also doesn't look like the required highlighting shows up, um, with Angular circ.
Okay. Are these filed bugs or are they just you just discovered them?
We haven't filed the free text one because without, like, you can clear what's in the field and type something in, but
Hmm.
until I can actually hit save, I
Yeah, you
don't
can't.
know if it would actually save that as free text or not.
Hmm.
The fact that you can't save is a reported bug.
Okay.
And it apparently is happening in some cases and not others. So there are like some servers you can save or edit patrons in Angular Circ, and some you can't. Um, I think based on what I've seen in the bug, that it might be if you have like if you're using data where you've upgraded your server over the years, that it doesn't work, versus if you have a brand new, just, stood up test server with Concerto data, it
Hmm.
does.
Yeah.
Um, which is a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think the required one is, but we're currently uh doing quite a bit of testing of the Angular circ. So if it's not a bug, we'll be adding it.
Okay. I'm just looking for the one with the safe.
Um, it's this bug.
Yeah, I will add it to the list.
But if people have the time and opportunity, I would definitely recommend if you're on a version that has Angular Circ, turning it on a test server and taking a look at the stat cats. I mean, taking a look at all of it, but for this conversation, taking a look at the stat cats.
I hope to poke around with it after we upgrade in November. We didn't want to turn it on our test server and people be confused, so we're gonna wait.
We waited till after our April upgrade.
I feel like we'll get some very concerned. What do you mean you're changing the screens?
Elizabeth,
On
what release are you going to?
We are going to at least 3.15. We're testing two, but we'll probably go a little higher. We're going in November, so maybe three or four, depending on how things go.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, we're excited.
Well, and something's supposed to be coming out this week, next week, point release wise.
Hmm. I think
We like to
tomorrow.
go the
That's
highest.
dot four, I believe.
We always like to go the highest point release we can get. All the bug fixes.
Yeah. We don't get to decide. Equinox decides for us, but they're usually a little, they're usually very eager about bug fixes as well. Anything else about stack cats that folks would like to discuss or related topics? I'm gonna
Well,
share. Go ahead.
sorry, bad timing. Uh, I'm interested in figuring out whether, given that a lot of our stat cats have possible entries that might be identical across different categories, I don't know if there's a way to find out whether we've got duplicate entries for a given item when running a report, like avoiding double counting an item under multiple categories because they've got different, they've got the same entry text in different locations, I guess.
I
If
think,
is it all
yeah.
coherent? Pardon me.
Mm, I think this was similar to what Eva was asking earlier. You could do the ID field, so not just the name, but the actual ID number in the
Hmm.
display in the output. But then you have to remember this is this
Yeah.
one, this one is this one. Um, I think. Do you always display the category with the like in one column and then the entry in the subsequent column?
Mm, that
In
could
in your
deal with it.
code?
I mean, I'm happy to just like find replace, use Excel and like find replace all my numbers with category names, but um generally I've just got the values rather than the category and then value. Yeah, that could very well be the answer, yeah.
The other thing you might want to explore is, well, I don't think there's an easy way to do it in the reporter. Somebody with access to your database might be able to pull that up through SQL. Um, and if you're doing like a one-time cleanup project, it might be worth working with somebody to do that because it would probably be a lot faster and they can probably make batch changes for you in the database. I know we've had our techs do different things where we're removing stat cats and uh, finding matches, not in stat cats, but in other things that it's just not possible to pull through the reporter. So it might be an avenue you want to look into.
All right, yeah, I can reach out. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Welcome. And Elizabeth, I'll say the bug that you shamelessly are plugging, we
Oh
very
yeah.
much want to.
Oh, good. Thank you. I I just think it's not great having that part of info in a stack hat and it doesn't get updated all as consistently as it should be. So,
Well, and we have the problem because one of our provinces is doing that. I mean, both provinces are tracking that kind of thing, but one province now has a list of all the municipalities in the province.
mhm,
And it's a very lengthy list. And in the current circulation module, you can't start typing. You have to select from the list.
mhm,
And I think there's like 100 or 200 entries in this list. And it's a required stat cat to make because it's used for annual reporting.
yeah.
But so the current use the current stat cat works, but
Mhm.
something like a municipal address field would just be so much easier.
Yeah, we are our state like we have one that's statewide, and we have Pennsylvania, fun fact, has over 2,500 municipalities. And another fun fact is that sometimes they have the same name, and they could be in adjoining or abutting counties. So, like, you live in Pike County, and they have, municipality X, and it's also in the county next door. And they're not anywhere near each other. Like they could be on polar opposite sides of the counties. So it's not like they're like geographically next to each other or yeah. So I feel your pain. I'm like, you getting off scot-free with only 200.
Yeah, it makes our list look small.
I know. So, but yeah. But I do like that. I like how you can like the auto populate would be great. Anyway. Krista is asking if anyone has GIS experience.
I was just thinking about the mapping thing, you guys. It would be so great to have it map in with some big GIS database that would work because, I mean, I'm not even sure where everybody's from, but we have zip codes, uh, municipal boundaries, your what is it, what you put in the census. I'm sure,
Hmm.
everybody has 5 million different things that you're a member of by not knowing just because you live at a certain address.
Yeah.
So you would have to have some sort of way to really check that. And I mean, GIS is the only thing that I know very little about, but it seems
Yes.
like it would be a great thing, right?
Yeah, definitely. We're doing a project with our hosting vendor that takes addresses and it'll map via like the API. It'll call out to our Pennsylvania GIS
Mm-hmm.
state data, and then it pulls back in like school district and municipality automatically at the end of
Okay.
every day. If your card gets updated, it automatically populates that data.
Cool.
Um, it is it's really cool, and that is to the extent that I know how it works. I can't tell you
Yeah, yeah. I
anything
mean,
else. Yeah.
I know what the letters G, I, and S stand for, and I think it seems really cool, but that's about my entire expertise. But that has to be based on something like that, right?
Hmm.
But it's just pulling the data that is in there. That seems like a really great idea that I
Hmm.
have no idea how to do.
Yeah. And we're using Kipu's eCard and eRenew, and that does some mapping within like the shape files. So like setting library boundaries and such. So yeah.
So another kind of ridiculous question, and I introduced myself in the chat. I have never come to one of these meetings, and I'm
Oh,
so excited to be able to talk to you guys. And
yeah.
I don't really understand how most of this stuff works, but it seems to me like you could use a stat cat for uh your library card holders. For example, here in my consortium, if you live in my actual community and you're paying taxes to support my actual library, you get, for example, Hoopla access. But if you live in a surrounding area where we have reciprocity, you get basically everything except for Hoopla.
Yeah.
So if I stat catted, and anybody who lived, well, let's just put it this way: if you lived in my community, um, right now, I think after, I don't know, your card expires and you have to prove your address again, or you have to confirm your address. Well, I don't care if everybody outside the community has to confirm their address or not. I would only like my tax holders, because if they had moved out, I would
Hmm.
like to restrict what they were getting. So I
Yeah.
could possibly have a situation where you could automatically renew your card for whatever, whatever group that you
Hmm.
had. I just keep thinking about the Hoopla thing. It's like if you moved out of the community, I would want to know that. If you moved in, obviously you probably didn't even have a card before that, or you could
Hmm.
come in and do that. But everybody else could just renew online, something
Yeah.
easy that, doesn't mean anything different for us. I really don't care where you live. If you're not in my community, you'll get a card and you'll get 99% of everything we have, but you won't get that. So
Yeah. Well, they don't update automatically. That's the only thing, unless you have like a script or something. So like if you moved in, say you got a card and then you renewed and you moved out of the area, your staff just have to know to go in and update that to turn off Hoopla.
right.
So it's not the end of the world. Like you can run reports and stuff on it. But yeah, there is a SIF component with statistical categories. I think when you're setting them up, because a few of our libraries use that for similar things for the overdrive, like a subset of
Right.
libraries, or depending on your address, you can live and get, oh, not that
How
one.
about online card renewal? Does anybody do that? Which has nothing to do with StatCats, you guys, but
We're testing it with
cool.
Kipu.
I want to do that. That seems like a lot easier than, oh, you got to call the library, you got to come in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we base it on certain permission groups. So we have profiles like for juvenile, young adult, adult, senior citizen,
Mhm.
and then we have a whole bunch of others. Um, so we only allow that online renewal for a subset.
Mhm.
Does
Great.
do y'all credential when you're doing or require credentials or proof of residence or et cetera when you're asking for online renewal?
Yeah.
And you're just getting that through like a scan, or would you?
We use Kipu.
Ah. Oh, okay.
And yeah, we have it set up, and I don't know if this is universal if you use Kipu, where if the patron changes their address, it's basically a temporary renewal for 30 days. So then they would have to go in to a library and show their new identification or address or proof of address or something like that. So yeah, it'll renew for 30 days so they can go into the library. But if none of their information changes, they can just renew it, and it's been really nice to have.
So, Susan, if I'm understanding correctly, though, they are self-reporting that some of their information has changed, you know,
Yes. Hmm.
which seems totally
Yeah.
fair, right? I mean, how many people are really like, no, I'm not really going to tell you that.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, but I figure they would have come in and stolen, 500 items in the years prior to that if they really wanted to.
Right.
So I put Kipu in the chat for the link, but I think Unique Management is also doing a similar product, so I don't want to promote one over the other. But if you're
So that's
interested
a
in that.
third-party service, obviously.
Yeah, both of them are. So it would be an added cost. And I know KeyFood uses like US Postal Service addresses and things.
Mhm.
So it'll like if you write ST instead of spelling out street, it will correct the address and do all of that
Got it.
fun stuff. And it can verify like if the person lives at the address, or you could just say like does the Nate like the last name, or you could do first name, last name. There depending on your um interest level and how specific it is. So we don't have it
Thank
as
you.
granular. Yeah.
Back to
Elizabeth, oh, sorry.
sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, for Elizabeth, you had mentioned like the SIP field for StatCat. And so we actually do use that this is for patrons. We have our student library card program. So we do like automatic, or schools will send us file extracts of data. So we kind of batch import or create student accounts. And with Overdrive, we were able to limit access by grade. So we have a StatCat for grade
Oh,
for those accounts specifically. And then it will block, like some only want high school students to have access to, scary adult content. So we are able to set that up with Overdrive. I don't know if that's available for other vendors, but yeah, we've just had it with Overdrive. And we are still kind of working out. They don't automatically update. And I think we're still working out that script. And sometimes we've just had to do it after the fact. But it has helped at least get more schools on the program because we are able to block it by grade if they want to.
that's so cool.
Yeah, I hate it, but I'm like, okay, fine.
And it can't do it by birth date either.
No, I think we looked at that and it was kind of too complicated, or maybe that it was maybe what they were already looking at, and that was like the easiest solution to kind
Oh,
of what
yeah.
they're already pulling. Or and I think maybe we didn't want them to get date of birth
Yeah, that
for,
is a
like security reasons. So it was just easier to do like a blanket
grade.
grade.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So related to that, actually, um, have you looked or are you starting to look at some point about moving Overdrive to Patron API? Because I'm wondering if we need a Launchpad bug for StatCats to work with Patron API the same way it works, like it does that kind of thing with SIP. Because we recently moved to Patron API with Overdrive, and whenever possible, we're choosing it over SIP because it's more secure. Um, but I don't actually know how it works on the back end compared to SIP as far as like the StatCats. But I'm thinking maybe we need a bug.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know anything about APIs. They're kind of scary. They're magical,
Yeah.
but I have no idea how they work.
I know it does authentication and it's more secure than SIP. And that's kind of it. I'll
I
make a
think it,
bug.
yeah, I think though, because we do use Kipu's the API and Evergreen, and they do pull in and push back StatCat, so it might already work, but I have no idea.
They might be able to just pull that information without needing additional. I'll talk to our person who does authentication things and see what they think.
Yeah, but if you do file one, let us know and I can put it in the notes.
Yep.
Thank you.
And I'm just gonna plug unrelated, but I think very important if I can find it. Ah, here we go. Susan's bug from last year, being able to report on the edit date of a stat cat for patrons. Because I think that's would be a very useful thing to report on.
That is really good. I will say we have a new source that came with our testing with Kipu, where we can look and get a JSON query of what got edited on a patron edit. So it'll tell you like, oh, their home library changed from this to this. So I haven't tested it with StatCats. So I'm wondering if that would be suitable for your needs. And I think it gives you the time and the date.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Because yeah, now we're kind of like there's, the last edit date on the account that you have no idea what's edited. So that would be really cool. And we just look in our auditor logs and those are, you know,
Super overwhelming.
yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I will, if I get time, I will poke around with the source and let you know. Again, there's really nothing outside the scope. Is there a good way to update permission groups as kids age? Yeah, you could use the user buckets, or you could script it depending on your support. Is that what you mean? So like once they hit an age, they go from Jew to like adult? Yeah. I don't want to say you can definitively, but I feel like you could get it scripted. I don't know if anyone else does that. Or if you want to be more manual about it, you can use user buckets. You'd have to run reports and then upload them into a user bucket and then edit their permission group in batch.
And I found this bug that Galen reported back in 2018, um,
Oh, this would be
talking
lovely.
about, and it talks about, it looks like there is a script, juve to adult .srfsh script that can turn off the juvenile flag. That the thought is to then have an action trigger that would actually send a notification to the patron. Um, I don't know if that script is like just in Evergreen somewhere, if you'd need to ask Galen or somebody. But also that just does the juvenile flag. And if you're changing permission groups, um, that's a whole other piece that potentially you might need to script. And just because you mentioned them, Elizabeth, I feel like user buckets is something that would be a really good topic for some. I don't know if this group, but for some group,
Yeah.
be-
I'll put it on ours.
because they do a lot of things, but they maybe don't do everything that we wish they could do. And at some point, they're going to be updated from Angular JS to Angular. So I'm hitting a point where I'm like, let's report all the things we wish before these things make it to Angular so that maybe somebody, when they're doing that project, will be like, oh, we should do this too. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
So was user buckets not included in the bucket work that was just released? I haven't
The
looked at it.
bucket work that was just released was just record buckets. So user buckets and item buckets still have to be done. And as far as I'm aware, nobody's currently contracted to pay for that work.
Okay.
So I don't I could be wrong, but I don't
Mhm.
believe there's even specs out there for angularizing either of them.
Got it.
I feel like maybe this is a rumor, so Gina, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I thought maybe Ian from Biblio was working on something, but I feel like I heard that a long time ago. I don't know if he was just looking at it. And I forget if it
There's
was for user, item, or both.
Yeah, I can't unfortunately remember what the project got to just because we of course had to deal with some other vendor stuff.
Of course.
But
Yeah.
yeah, there are some buckets that he has been doing some continuous development with. So, we'll see whenever it becomes available.
All right. It looks like we have 2 minutes left. And we have a couple topics for the next session. Would we like to set one for October? That will be when we're meeting next. Would you folks prefer to talk about user buckets or see if we can get someone from reports committee to do something on StatCats? Or should I flip a coin? Actually, I could ask Jessica, because she's like the queen of nullability. If she could do maybe October, and then if she can't, we could default to user buckets. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much, and I will update the webpage with the notes and the recording once it gets uploaded. But for now, we can wrap up, and we will see each other on the 21st of October. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.